Hey there, friends. What is up once again? You know who it is. It's Kevin, and this is, I think, episode 16 of the Chord Progression Podcast, brought to you by my song of the day, Rock 2000 to today. I've got a very special guest who I teased on Sunday the 2nd, right before I shot this. So, hope you guys are excited. Hope you guys are actually, I'm actually kind of nervous right now, because this is something that could potentially lead into a bunch of good things. But before I get into who that guest is, let's go through the shameless plugs, where, of course, I got to talk about this stuff as well. So, of course, we have the Chord Progression Podcast, where we talk all about music, more about an in-depth kind of style than we do on our other platforms, just as like a weekly by weekly thing. Yeah, sometimes, bi-weekly if I'm feeling it. But where we get, people on the show, fans on the show that talk about music, recently releases, and, well, today, a band is going to be on. Did I just spoil something? Maybe I did, maybe I didn't, who knows? So, if you're listening to this podcast for the first time, as always, welcome to the Chord Progression Podcast. I am so happy to have you here. If you are a returning listener, I am even more happy to have you here. So, thank you very much for being here. I appreciate it fully. And if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, or on YouTube, well, thanks for having us. Or letting me grace your ears, I guess. Alrighty, also, for the My Song of the Day Rock 2000 Day stuff, we're on Facebook. So you might want to check us out there. Twitter, we talk to you guys about a bunch of stuff that's going on in music. Instagram, we do the exact same thing. Put out killer content there. We do stuff like IGTV videos where we go do a more behind-the-scenes approach, show you guys kind of what we're doing, or what I'm doing, actually. And our Instagram Lives every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Central, where you ask us questions, and I try and answer them to the best of my ability, or we just kind of get in a random conversation. Who knows? Most of the time we get in a random fun conversations. We just kind of go off the rails. It's a hoot. It's a blast. I love it. Also, we're on YouTube as well because, well, got a YouTube channel where we do stuff like band reviews. That's where all our album reviews come into play after the big album reviews. And next week, just to tease it right now, because with Motionless in White coming out with Disguise on Friday, June 7th? Yeah, Friday, June 7th. Of course, the YouTube video for the upcoming week will be the Disguise review. I've got a guest on for next week as well, already planned. We'll talk about that at the end of the show, kind of leading into something. But yeah, we do album reviews, band reviews. We kind of I ask some questions, do some top 10 stuff. It's all in good fun. So yeah, I'd say join us. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. All the links and the stuff are in the description below as well. And lastly, most importantly, we have an Alexa skill. If you have an Amazon Echo, enable our Alexa skill, because what you can do is you can get a brand new song of the day every single day. You'll see it on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, but if you want to listen to it and get a little 5-second intro from me, saying happy whatever day it is, and then kind of go into a little bit of fun stuff, yeah, add it to your skill set, because it is awesome. It's a great way to discover new bands, rediscover bands that you may have forgotten, or just songs you might have loved at one point. You're like, oh, I haven't listened to that in a while, and sudden, oh, I get to listen to this song again. Yeah! Something like that. So I love it if you guys would do that. So add that to your skill set, and all you have to do is say, hey, Alexa, play my song of the day, and she will do it. I had to make sure my Alexa didn't do it at that moment, because, I didn't want all of a sudden her to go off on me, but what are you going to do about it? Stuff happens. Okay, well, that's enough for the shameless plugs, and now let's go into a little bit of a precursor on this. I've been trying to think about getting bands on this show, getting artists on this show, and friend of the show, friend of the podcast, friend of, everything. Her name's Kathy. I mentioned her in episode 2 of the podcast, where I went to go see Disturbed for the first time, and I got to meet her in person, and her and I have been chatting back and forth, and she said, you should listen to this band. This band is called Ascending from Ashes. So, of course, I check them out. I'm like, I actually like this kind of stuff. They've got a good sound. It mixes all over the place. They're always trying different stuff and what they've done. And, yeah, I'm actually enjoying it. She said, would you like to talk to them? Because she mentioned us to them while they were doing a live stream. And they're like, yeah, we would love to talk to this guy and be on his podcast. So, of course, I took that full-heartedly. That was 4 days ago. And now we're going to be interviewing them here on the podcast today. So how cool is that? So, without further ado, well, let me make sure I get everything correctly on the soundboard, because otherwise I would be screwed. I think I messed that up at one point, which was kind of funny. Alrighty, let's see. Should I make the call? Let's make the call. Sending from Ashes, guys. Hopefully they pick up. Otherwise, it'd be embarrassing.
I'm going to guess this is Kev because I don't know anybody else from Wisconsin.
Yes, this is Kev. How are you guys today?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Is this Kev as well? I should ask.
This is Kevin as well. This is my cell phone number. I talking to you right now, not on speaker, but the other two of the other guys in the band are here. So whatever you want to start, I'll throw on speaker and get them on over here.
Well, first, if I got to say to everybody else that's listening, these are the guys from Ascending from Ashes. I looked at the zip code, and it says not the zip code, the area code says you're out of New Jersey, so they're an hour ahead of me at this point. And once you put it on speaker, and let's get all the guys in the band here, and then you guys just introduce yourselves, tell us what you guys do. Well, just kind of give us a rundown of who you guys are, what you're about, just quick, and then we'll go into some questions, and we'll start talking, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Okay, cool, sure. So they're coming on over. Let's have a seat, boys.
I was gonna say they weren't ready. What is this?
We're all in the same room, and we just weren't seated yet. So everybody's having a seat now. All right, good to go.
Awesome.
So we are one band member short right now. Our drummer, Sean John, is not available at the moment. But you have here Kevin. I play rhythm guitar.
This is Dave. I play lead guitar.
And I'm Sean. I'm the lead vocalist.
And we are 3/4 of Ascending from Ashes. So we're a rock metal quartet from Bergen County, New Jersey. We have a full-length album out now called Glory. It is a concept record that we produced with John Moyer of Disturbed. He was he was very involved in both the writing and the recording of it, and we're just trying to share it with the world now. So we're happy to be on the podcast.
Alrighty, well, again, thank you guys for being on the podcast as well. Also, a side note, we are starting a project here starting actually this upcoming Saturday called Small Band Saturday. So for our Song of the Day selection, we'll be featuring songs by smaller bands that, some people don't necessarily know or are just kind of coming up. And, well, with you guys being on the podcast, that means I'm going to want to put you on at some point. I have some lined up already, but if you guys are willing to be on, the Alexa skill, our whole entire page and everything, I've got you guys slated for a feature on July 6th, if you guys are cool with that.
Cool. Yes, sounds great.
Alrighty, so first thing I kind of want to get into is I was listening to your Glory album, the concept album, and then the EP that you guys have on Spotify, Phoenix Rising, just because I wanted to get a sense of what the music was, and I'm really curious, what were your guys' influences when creating this, creating your music? What bands do you really take influence from? Because I was noticing a couple of different styles, a couple of different sounds that I thought were really comparable to other bands, just to kind of, I just want to know, what were your guys' influences and what kind of brought it all together?
It's funny because we all have similar tastes, but we all go in our own direction too and have our own preferences. I think some of the biggest influences that we have would probably be a lot of the newer kind of metal sounds where even they're experimenting. So, and that kind of comes off in our album too, where it sounds like we're kind of experimental and we're experimenting with all these different sounds. That's kind of like the bands that we listen to also. Avenged Sevenfold was big for us, especially earlier in the early 2000s. And I think we were really getting our ropes then with bands like that. But then other members of our band, and maybe they want to talk upon it, include the Misfits, which again is a regional thing, and it's not one of my favorites, but it just goes to show that we all have our own influences that we bring to the table. Metallica is definitely one of them, and Disturbed is a big influence, even despite the fact that we've worked with John. We were fans way before that too. So I think a lot of metal predecessors, and then I'm the lead guitarist, so I like all the shred stuff. I like Yngwie Malmsteen. I like Steve Vai, and I think Sean gravitates towards certain singers, and it's really a hodgepodge of all different kinds of music, which is kind of like what you were describing when you heard Glory.
Yeah, because I was listening to Glory, a couple of songs kind of stood out to me, and I was going through it. I just got to pull out my notes real quick, because otherwise I knew I was going to forget. When I was listening to The Prince, I think it was the second song on the record, I was trying to figure out, where have I kind of heard this kind of like style, because there was a specific song I was trying to think of in the style that you guys had it.
Vikings, I don't know, maybe, and which is funny because like to me it's like when I listen to it I'm like, is this like a Viking metal song? But what's funny is I don't think we really listen to that kind of stuff that much, like I don't know, Amon and Marth and bands like that, but it's got that swagger to it. I don't even know, but sometimes we don't even realize things come out the way they are until after the fact, and we're like, what is this? And but yeah, that's what comes to. What came to you when you heard that song? What were you thinking?
Well, it's kind of funny that you're saying Viking metal, because I'm like, okay, I kind of see where that can come in, but what really called out to me was the song "The Warriors Call" by Volbeat. Just kind of the way the vocal pattern was put together. I thought that's got to be an influence right there for sure.
I think Volbeat kind of has that, at least slightly, like Norwegian kind of Viking, kind of just triumphant metal sound. I guess that is an influence of ours too.
What's funny is
a lot of sense.
With the Prince specifically, I remember first I set out to create this like introduction to the story and the character, and I came up with this song that was very bare bones, and it really actually in its purest form when it was first written, it resembled Volbeat very much. It was just kind of power chords with that kind of like galloping kind of rhythmic pattern. And then, Dave, lo and behold, turned it into this much more intricate musical piece. But it was like literally, it felt like a Volbeat song at first. So you pick that right out.
Yeah. Very nice.
So, woohoo, I'm doing something right here, guys.
I like it.
Good analysis.
And then as I was going through some of the other songs in your album, I was noticing a couple of things, especially when you guys had more bit of a melodic sense to it, where it was kind of more drawn out. It wasn't as heavy, but it just kind of seemed, again, melodic. I was wondering if you guys took any like inspiration from what Breaking Benjamin had done, because that's where my mind was going with a couple of these songs. I'm like, it sounds like that melodic style that Breaking Benjamin has.
I mean, I just saw a meme where I think there were like all these hands meeting together as one, and the hands were like death metal fans, pop fans, reggaeton fans, but they're all kind of bringing into them once liking Breaking Benjamin. I think Breaking Benjamin is one of those bands that I think just really crossed so many boundaries, and we did love that. I mean, especially me in particular.
Yeah, we've seen them a couple times.
Yeah, great band, and definitely focusing on more of a melodic thing for them. Even though they get heavy, they like to break out into a nice melody, and that's something, we definitely need. I don't think heaviness is enough for us to fulfill, what we want to do. So that's a really cool name drop right there, for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. You guys said you've seen Breaking Benjamin a couple of times. Does that go for all of you or just for a number of you?
Yeah, I think that actually goes for all of us. We've definitely seen them
together. Yeah. We've seen Breaking Benjamin together alongside Disturbed, I think. We're lucky enough to get tickets to these shows once in a while, courtesy of John, and Breaking Benjamin we're always happy to see, but we'll go out of our way to see them too, no doubt.
They did like an acoustic tour once that I saw too in New York City, which was really great. It was only really like one electric guitar short of being a full set because the drummer was still playing and everything, but it was great.
I do remember that acoustic set, though, that they did, because they did kind of like a tour on it. It kind of wasn't really announced all that well, but I saw they were coming. This was like 2017, I think. Yeah, because they were coming.
Something like that, yeah.
Because they were coming to Milwaukee, and I'm like, oh shoot, Breaking Benjamin's coming. And this was probably during a time where I really needed to like just kind of get out of a funk. So I'm like, okay, I'll go see Breaking Benjamin. And I was expecting to see them play their normal set, and all of a sudden it's an acoustic show. I'm like, okay, this is a little odd, but
kind of a downer maybe at first, but then they pull it off to do well.
Yeah, but then again, I got lucky enough because they came back to Milwaukee in March, and they were the headliner, and their two openers were Under Oath and Skillet.
Oh,
that's a
nice.
cool
Hey, we love both those bands as well, actually. Yeah, huge. I mean, and obviously we like the on the metal front, but we definitely like that hardcore kind of influence too. And Under Oath, obviously not the most hardcore of bands, but they ultimately led, they evolved into that. But
and they had that new album out probably, right? When you saw them, their newest one.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was called, but I remember when they played it, they played mostly, like, they started out with pretty much like 6 or 7 songs from that album. The Erase Me album. I had to pull it up real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. That stuff's great, and we have that side to us too, no doubt. We still want to throw a breakdown here and there, and we do like something that's almost like a little bit simpler, but just heavy and groovy. And the Prince has a little bit of that. And I think a lot of our newer stuff that hopefully we'll be releasing early this year will have a lot of that too. And like you've mentioned before, still focusing on melody and just trying to progress and almost just make something like that's just infectious. We want to infect people's brains and minds with our grooves. And that's going to be, although we told a really cool, expansive story with Glory, I think we're definitely trying to strip it down this next LP and just make songs that are unforgettable.
Yeah, we're kind of planning a string of new releases, probably most likely to be singles, and we're really into the groove kind of feel. We're all pretty big Don Broco fans, who's a band that's not incredibly popular yet, it feels like, in the States, but they're a UK-based like hard rock band, and they in particular, I think, have been a pretty big influence on our recent style.
Yeah, and also I think bands like Periphery, bands like Tesseract, there's a new wave of a lot of cool like progressive metal and a lot of cool, I don't want to say the word trendy, but I mean kind of like relevant to modern time, metal and rock music. And I think we're really still influenced by that too, even though we can't forget the classic stuff and the 2000 stuff that we were raised on. We're still happy, very excited about where music's going, and we want to, be in that wave as well. So, yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say that trendy is the worst way to go, just because then you kind of see where the industry and where music is going itself, especially when it comes to metal. But sure. I did like what you said when it came to, you can't forget the classic, you can't forget the early to mid 2000s metal, because that's what you guys really came up on. So it's kind of, when you experiment, you always kind of keep that sort of a base within your music.
Yeah, I think it's unavoidable. I think that music, like Breaker Benjamin, that stuff is just a part of us no matter what we do. And I think the more conscientious songwriting nowadays comes from us thinking about what's happening now that people are interested in. Because, you want to be creative, but you want to make a good product. And we really are interested and fascinated by music nowadays still too. I don't think we're always like, hey, put on a Springsteen record, man. We're not that kind of, where's the Breaking Benjamin? We still like this new stuff coming out. But yeah, like I said, Breaking Benjamin will always be a part of us, and I think we can't help but kind of express that sometimes.
I think Dave, even some of these big, behemoths from the 2000s are still making great records. Bands like Breaking Benjamin, their newer record is still really great. Yeah. They've definitely maintained the core sound, but they've evolved a bit. They've involved more electronic elements and slightly different styles here and there.
Hardcore bands are getting old. The Day to Remember. I mean, I just finally listened to Bad Vibrations, which came out 2017, but
awesome album.
I loved it. Yeah, and definitely different. And it's funny seeing these bands mature, because I felt like they were new just a year ago.
Atreyu too. We saw Atreyu's newest album was awesome, and we caught them this year, and they really brought the album to life. Like Dave was saying, good vibes.
But we want to start our own legacy, and I think that's going to begin with a newer type of sound and approach, which we're always still experimenting with. But we're excited about the new stuff we're coming out with, and we're hoping to release a single very shortly. But in the meantime, we're playing Glory, because those are still great songs to us, and we worked really hard on them, and we're really glad you got a chance to jam them out, Kev.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I gotta say, I mean, be proud of them. You guys actually put out what I thought was a rather good album for a band that I've just, someone to mention to me. I thought, okay, I'll give it a listen, just because if it wasn't for friend of the show, friend of the podcast, friend of the page, Kathy, I would never have found you guys until maybe a couple years down the line, which still is really awesome.
Shout out to Kathy really quick. Kathy's been a really big fan of ours, and just so awesome to have people like her following us, and now you too, Kev. So just big shout outs to you guys. We're still a small band here in New Jersey, and we're really trying to reach out and expand our horizon a bit. We do a lot of stuff on the internet to that effect. But thanks, Kathy, and thank you, Kev.
Yeah, shout out to Kathy, shout out to Kev, and we're just trying to get a fan base going and start to expand globally, or at least nationally, and we're hoping our live stream does that. We're online doing live streams every Wednesday. Just trying to gain fans that way and give people a really good quality show experience, in the comfort of their own toilets or couches, which we're hoping is going to be a thing. I think it'll catch on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping the same thing too, mostly because I also do live streams for us on Wednesday nights as well. So kind of the
crap. Can you make that 7:30 then, just so we can both support each other, because we're on at 8, so it'd be tough. But we're different time zones too, right?
Yeah, so if you're on it, if you go on at 8 your time, that'd be 7 my time. I don't go on until 9 o'clock my time. So.
Oh, there you go. Okay, cool. So we can,
all right,
we'll
perfect. We got different times. Woo!
That works out. Okay, cool. No conflict there.
Alrighty, yeah, because again, I gotta jump back to Kathy as well, because she's been actually sending me a couple of bands that she knows of. It's just like, hey, I know this one. You guys were the first ones to come up, and I mean, of course, the first thing I do is when she sends me a band, it's like, oh, you might want to think about putting them on the podcast, putting them as a song of the day choice. The first thing I always have to do is listen to them, because I could potentially get a bunch of different people sending me bands and artists to listen to, but if they don't mesh with the theme of what I'm going for, it's not going to work. You guys fit into that perfectly, so it was a perfect match, honestly.
That's so great. We're glad to hear that, and we really appreciate you, and we appreciate Kathy for extending the opportunity. And yeah, we're glad we didn't disappoint. We're glad we made Kev's cut, so we appreciate that.
And I want to just jump back a little bit more of that experimentation on the album as well, because you did jump through a bunch of different things. And again, when it came to, you guys were talking about other bands that kind of been coming out with newer music that have been actually rather well received, stuff like when Breaking Benjamin came out with Ember, because when they put out that Red Cold River single, I was utterly amazed. I remember I was up in Minnesota visiting a couple of my friends, and I was just like, oh shoot, there's a new Breaking Benjamin single out, and it started out real slow and kind of melodic. I'm like, oh, this is going to be interesting. And then Ben just goes into the screams. I'm just like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. This is insane.
Yeah, dude. I think I was at the beach when I heard that record, and I was like, oh, this is sounding great. And it's almost like, it was cool to me, because it was almost like they never left. They were just as well received. They were getting just as much airplay. And I thought that was really cool. I think, again, it just shows that they made such an impact on like such a wide variety of audience, such a wide variety of fans, that it was really cool. It's like they never left to me.
Yeah, and and then also with Atreyu as well, when they came out with their In Our Wake album, because I was never the biggest Atreyu fan when I really kind of was, before this whole entire project started, mostly because I wasn't the biggest fan of the unclean vocals. It just wasn't necessarily something that I really got into. One of my good friends, though, that's his favorite band of all time. So when I saw they came out with the new album, I thought, well, gotta listen to it for this. And I was completely blown away by it. Both Breaking Benjamin and Atreyu were in my top 5 best albums from the year last year. Unfortunately, both of them did not make the cut, though, as the winner, because I think, let me think who I picked as the winner, though. It was Beartooth's album, Disease.
Oh, nice. Yeah, cool. They've got a lot of cool, like, pop sensibilities, too, in their writing. And I think that's why, I think that's where Atreyu started evolving, is where they kind of left a particular, like, sound from the scene that they were born in, which was, it's kind of emo, metalcore stuff, but I think they just had a lot of they started focusing more on good choruses, just good songs, good structures. And Beartooth does the same thing, but they still have a nice, really cool aggression to them, for sure. So that's a good choice. I like it.
Yeah. And one other thing I can kind of tell, too, especially when it comes to other bands that are really coming out with a lot more high-quality albums lately, is they're taking a lot of time when it comes to the songwriting process. They're not trying to rush stuff just to get content out there. They're really taking the time to understand, why does this work in this song? If this doesn't work in this particular song, how can we manipulate it or change it? And even though it might change up the tempo or kind of just the overall feel of the song, it might make it for the better as well. So there's a lot of time being put into it.
Yeah. That's even a technique. I mean, like, we've all been writing songs now for a very long time, but when we really sat down in pre-production for this past album with John Moyer, he was not afraid to dive in and ask those questions about every single song. And as a result, we did do a lot of tinkering and rearranging and cutting parts and adding parts, because you always want to, you want to consider the listener and consider what the, purpose of every part of every, song is. And so, yeah, we definitely have had experience with that kind of like scrutiny. in the last few years with our songs.
Well, and the fact of the matter that you're working with John Moyer is utterly fantastic, especially with his basically his track record of who he's worked with. So you're getting one of the best guys out there.
He is, and he's really been doing this kind of thing in particular more often. He's been, working with and consulting with young up and coming bands like us, and there's a lot to be learned, and there's also there's a lot of guidance, and I think that there's also just a lot of good teamwork that's happening. There's a degree to which we're learning, and there's also a degree to which we're just working together. And he's really cool about all that stuff. Really cool about being involved while also respecting some of our own creative desires. I mean, that's just part of being on a creative team, and he definitely embodies that kind of presence.
See, and that is absolutely perfect. That's absolutely what you want from someone who's going to help you produce your music and, help you create the best song so that what you want out there is going to be articulated perfectly.
Yeah. And he's and that's it. That's the word too, man. He's always concerned about proper articulation of the idea, of the riff, of the solo, whatever it is. That's one of the biggest takeaways I think we've had from working with John is, purposeful articulation. So yeah.
I mean, you can really see that too in the latest Disturbed album as well, because when they came out with Evolution, I'm not going to lie, when I first heard it, I had mixed feelings about it, mostly because when I grew up, when I really became a huge Disturbed fan, this was back in like 2007, 2008. That was right around when they dropped Indestructible, and that heavy sound, that was something that I gravitated towards heavily, mostly because I was always the enigma when it came to, I was like 12, 13 years old at the time. So being in middle school, junior high, I was always everyone was listening to pop music or country. And then there's me listening to Disturbed. I always kind of got ridiculed for it, but it taught me not to really, care about that kind of stuff. So that's the kind of music that I was expecting from Disturbed. Of course, we got a couple of songs like that, but then we got a lot more songs that were a little bit more melodic, actually a lot more melodic, a lot deeper, stuff like A Reason to Fight and Hold On to Memories. Yeah. Which at first I was thrown back by them, but as I've listened to it more and more, I've gained a much larger appreciation for it because of how they're constructed and how much time was actually put into creating a song that really puts out the emotion that those songs do.
They do. And what's even particularly cool, because similarly, we got into Disturbed when we were all probably that age. For us, the album was Believe. And then shortly after, obviously, Indestructible and all that stuff. And you're right, it was all a lot heavier back then, and that's what we were all into. And they've kind of evolved. And, it almost, you would think some of these clean, more melodic songs would make the live show anticlimactic. And in fact, we actually saw them at Madison Square Garden, and they had like an entirely different stage production setup where they would kind of transition to some of those songs. And it was just cool, man. It was definitely a spectacle, the way that they, put on a show and that they, connect with everybody. And a lot of those songs are very connectable, actually, despite not being like the style we're used to. They're still, like you said, well-crafted, melodic, singable. They all have messages that are very succinct. So it's been a cool ride being a Disturbed fan.
I mean, I have to agree with you when it comes to just kind of being able to connect with those songs, even though they're not as hard as well. I'm going to go to the live show as well because I saw them. It was on their last U.S. stop on that part of the tour when they stopped in Chicago. Oddly enough, I actually met Kathy at that show.
Oh, nice.
So, and she was sitting up she was sitting stage left right up front on the rail, right where Dan would be playing. And during 3 Days Grace's performance, my buddy who I was with and we kind of got there a little bit later. We got there pretty much right as 3 Days Grace was going on. And of course, when they're going to play Riot, we're not going to, refuse to jump into the mosh pit. If there's a mosh pit while you're listening to Riot, you got to jump in. But
dude, they killed it. They were great too at that show. They were awesome.
I was really pleasantly surprised by it, mostly because when it comes to 3 Days Grace, I'm much more of a 3 Days Grace fan when they had Adam Gontier.
Of course, yeah. That's just familiarity for all of us, right? Yeah.
And when I was listening to stuff that Matt Walsh put out there, stuff I thought that he really hit on, there's stuff I thought that he kind of missed on. And I was also concerned about what was going to happen at a live show, and all my preconceived notions, all my concerns were thrown right out the window.
Nice.
Yeah. He was energetic, dude. He we were all of us as vocalists were really impressed, man. He definitely put on an exciting show, hit all the right notes, a lot of high stuff. He sounded great.
He definitely did. Unfortunately, he's being followed up by David Draymond, who is going to be nearly impossible to beat.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They had the order right for the show.
Oh yeah, but I kind of want to jump back into what I was talking about with those more softer melodic songs that Disturbed put out. Because when we saw them, when they were going into A Reason to Fight and Hold On to Memories, they basically walked around the crowd and went to this little stage that was sitting in the center of the crowd.
Yeah.
And that's when they started playing. They played Hold On to Memories first, and they had this whole entire like slideshow picture production in the background. And for the first half of the song, it was, old photos of them on the road, photos of them and their families, just having fun. And then after a while, it went into photos with other people in the music industry that are no longer with us. And the one thing I was not surprised at was the crowd went absolutely insane anytime a picture with David and Chester Bennington showed up.
Yeah, man, and Chris too. I mean, I remember there being some pictures of Chris Cornell, I believe. I
think Vinnie Paul was in there a couple of times.
Yeah, Vinnie Paul was in there also. Yeah.
It didn't take down any of the energy of the show as well. It just redirected the energy into something else. And then,
no, I mean, yeah, for sure. It's just touching on things that we're all, it's a community kind of thing, I guess. We all were on the same page.
Yeah, it's an era.
Yeah.
I mean, there was Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, in the late 60s, early 70s. I mean, that was an era. And I think, Disturbed, Breaking Benjamin, what all these bands we were talking about, that's an era too. So I think seeing all those, having them pay homage to those people, it kind of reminds everybody that, this was an era that we were all really happy to be a part of. And, I think they've kind of passed the torch on to us, hopefully.
Yeah, I will say this, hopefully to you guys for sure, because that would be absolutely amazing.
We'd be happy to take the torch.
We'll be stoked.
I got my heat-resistant gloves.
So, that's our job is like, all right, where are we taking it now? Because, we can't just play something that sounds like Disturbed or 3 Days Grace, because Disturbed and 3 Days Grace is doing it, and they've been doing it for years now, almost, decades, merely. So, we're still in that process of, like you said, like we've been talking about experimenting and figuring out what we're going to do next and what's going to carry on the legacy of rock as we know it.
Yeah, and you can still use their influence as well in your music completely. The one thing you just don't want to do is straight up copy it, because then you might be seen as a copycat band. But clearly, from listening to your guys' music, there's no way you're a copycat band to anybody.
Nice. Glad you think that.
Yeah, we appreciate that. I think we've delved in enough different regions of music that it kind of comes out with something new, and we're really happy about it.
All right, because since we've been talking about the bands that have influenced you, the bands that have not only been huge parts of our lives, but also helped me with coming to put out this whole entire project. We're talking about them, seeing them live and what they've kind of the feelings that they bring us. I got to ask you guys, because what are you guys doing when it comes to live shows? Are you sticking within New Jersey, or are you guys kind of sticking within a certain region right now?
You know what, Kev? That's actually been the source of discussion among us recently, because we have this album out, and as Dave was sharing earlier, one of our biggest endeavors, pretty much ever, is putting together this live stream concert performance that we've started doing, like you said, every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it's been a big project. Not only for the live streaming aspects, but for the audio aspect, which is very involved in order to maximize clarity, to maximize the ability to mix and, get a really good sounding final product, being able to have all the cameras set up, being able to switch between them. So it's been a big production, and that's something that we are really doubling down on, because it has a reach beyond what we as a local band right now, or as a regional band, can ever have in a live show setting. So we definitely are going to continue doing that. It's a pretty cool thing. We think it's an interactive experience. We definitely, look forward to interacting with people who are watching and try and take requests and give shout outs and all that good stuff, that comes with live streaming. But we are, gigging in New Jersey. We have some lined up. For the sake of announcing them, I guess we have a show July 18th at Dingbats, which is a pretty prominent metal club in our area in Bergen County, New Jersey. And that's with our friends Rise Among Rivals, who I actually forget where they're from, but they are going to tour into the area. So they're from out of town. And then we have a show July 26th at Crossroads, which is another, probably a less of a metal club and more of just an all-around rock club in Garwood, New Jersey. So we are touring, performing out regionally, but we are interested in starting to branch out, at least on the East Coast. It might be tough to get out to you in the near future, but it's going to be it's definitely going to be an upward climb for us.
Yeah, but you guys seem poised for that upward climb too, especially with how you're taking your live streams and using them as well, because I don't think there's really a band out there that I can think of that has been doing anything remotely close to that. And just having the accessibility and the availability out there online all of a sudden, because that's where the attention is, especially if it's on Instagram, because Instagram is probably where the most amount of attention is in regardless to any other platform that's out there and any other medium that's out there as well. So I think you guys are hitting it right there. And the biggest thing is just trying to especially grow your audience from there, while also, growing your audience by going out and playing at, your local places, or even maybe hopefully, catching on with a band and being an opener on their tour. And all of a sudden, okay, now you could be traveling all up and down the East Coast and playing, 45, 50 minutes as an opener. But the fact of the matter is you're getting that exposure.
Kev, you're on the same page of the book we are, man. I'm telling you, it's exactly.
Sound like you're a tour manager. You got to figure it out. That's it.
We definitely are feeling that way, and it's 2019. The internet's not only is the internet a very impactful tool, more so than ever, but also people are increasingly busy, and especially in the East Coast, where our type of music is not the bee's knees for everybody. It's tougher and tougher to be performing out when we can put on this highly produced concert experience that people don't have to come out for. It's free to attend because you can just pull it up online from your couch or your toilet and enjoy it and interact with us. It's definitely something, like we said, we're doubling down on and looking to do those kind of openers here and there, and maybe spread out on the East Coast as this develops.
Artie, I got to ask you this question just because this is something that is actually more of a passion of mine, especially when it comes to this. How are you guys really marketing your live streams to advertise them, to let people know about them, and try and get people to join in and watch them?
Well, if it's your passion, Kev, maybe you should tell us, because we're doing some stuff, but we definitely are open to advice on that. We do a little bit of certain online marketing, kind of simple blanket kind of stuff, but we're definitely looking for new ways to expose it. And it's tough to reach, it's tough to make new fans out there on the internet. The internet's as convenient as it is, and like we were saying, it's definitely somewhere we want to be. It's a big place, so we are
certainly always juggling ideas of what we think might go viral, because of course that I think is one of the top strategies, I think, to gain and garner attention and followers, is to make a video that will go viral, that is something maybe silly or something fun or something that is just really relevant to the moment that might get us somewhere. We did a cover of Shinedown that we posted from our studio. So I think in the future we're going to be doing a lot more kind of cool covers that I think will hopefully garner some attention with people who don't even know who we are, things like that. I guess.
I mean, with that stuff, we're all over social media. We definitely have a big presence there, and we have a lot of content. It's just it's the struggle of every up and coming band, I guess, is to really permeate the stratosphere.
Yeah, I would say, I got to ask you this now. Have you ever heard of this guy named Gary Vaynerchuk, or Gary V?
Yeah,
Gary,
dude. Yeah, Gary V. I would follow Gary V.
Yeah, because that's pretty much like how I kind of got into a lot of this stuff, was just like I started listening to his stuff. And I mean, I still listen to his podcast every single day. I'm looking at my desk right now. I've got all 5 books basically lined up in front of me, and I've read through each of them at least twice, just because it's the guy's completely right on almost everything. So
sure.
Yeah.
Why not?
One of his big, he's got the doubling down philosophy, right? What are you good at? And it's for us, it's playing music in this live stream, and we're doubling down on it, man, and really just trying to perfect it and reach more people with it.
One thing that I took from him that I really use a lot of is his $1.80 strategy, which is basically leaving your 2 cents on 90 posts on Instagram or 90 tweets a day, just to kind of just to connect with people. And I think that's something if you guys aren't really taking full force that's something you could easily do, where it's just, honestly, when it comes to Instagram, I just take a look at hashtags of all these different bands and see what people are posting about them. Sometimes it's like, oh, someone's posting something on Instagram. It's like, doesn't have anything really to do with the band, but they're wearing one of the band's shirts. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm going to ask them, maybe where they got it, because maybe I want it. I don't know. Or especially one thing I did heavy on, which I will basically be doubling down on as this upcoming week and then the following weekend, is I'm going to be heavy on the hashtag Motionless in White and ask people what's their prediction for the new Disguise album coming out on Friday, and then after it comes out, what do they think about it? Because I'm curious and I want to talk to people about that kind of stuff.
Sure. Yeah, sure. And that's definitely that's how you learn, man. And that's how you, further your own enterprises, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of think about it. It's just I'm not necessarily sure how you guys would want to take that for yourself, but if you're looking for another way to really kind of start trying to connect with an audience online, that might be another way. It's going to be, you're hitting one person at a time, but you could be hitting one person at a time on an individual level.
Yeah, and that's good to consider, because maybe we don't do it as much on the gram or on Facebook, but Sean was definitely, Sean runs a lot of our YouTube channel and is, applying that strategy in that arena, which for us, YouTube, Instagram is definitely a huge platform for us, but YouTube is maybe perhaps our biggest platform, just due to the nature of what we're doing right now with the live streaming and, a lot of this video content and the covers and everything. So, yeah, like you said, maybe one person at a time sometimes, but it's effective. It definitely works.
It's effective, especially if you can bring value to your fan base. Which with music, as long as you're putting out great stuff like you guys have been, you will be. It's just now it's a matter of getting people to recognize it.
Yeah, that's the struggle. But we're gonna keep making great music either way.
Oh, I have no doubt that you guys will. Also, another question, because I'm rather curious. I want to hear you guys have to say about this. You guys have any crazy stories when it comes to performing live shows, or maybe traveling from one place to another to perform? Any crazy wacky stories?
Wow. Give us a sec here. Let's think about it.
Bringing John to the studio back and forth was kind of fun. And then,
so when we were making Glory, Glory was a big album. It's only 14 tracks and it's 13 tracks in its current form, but it was 17. And we spent a lot of time going into Staten Island to record it. So in the morning, usually Dave or I would wake up around 8 a.m. maybe, drive into Manhattan in that traffic, pick John up, drive into Staten Island, work an 8-hour day at the studio, then drop him back off in Manhattan, and then drive back to New Jersey. So there's a lot of driving. Also, John Moyer is a big coffee spiller. So if somehow, John, if you're hearing this, man, keep a hand on those cups of coffee.
Try not to put them on the floor of a car. That's not a good place to start.
He was spilling them in my car. He was spilling them in the studio. I mean, he was nuts, Moyer.
And afterwards,
but the man needs coffee, dude. He works nonstop, man. He needs the coffee. So
coffee in the morning, wine at night, and and repeat.
Oh, actually, speaking of crazy stories, there is one from that experience. One time I was driving John home. It was just me and him in my 2003 Yukon. It was a pretty rainy day, and I'm driving up this really curvy road in Staten Island. It was called Arthur Hill Road, but we changed the name to Arthur Kill Road after this incident. We're driving up this very steep hill in this rain, and this dude in this F-250 is barreling down the road in the oncoming traffic lane, in my lane. And John, it's like this kind of barricaded road, so I couldn't even get over. And this dude just slams into the driver's side rear door and keeps driving. And it fucked up the tire. I couldn't drive, couldn't even chase after the guy. I'm like, oh, damn. And John's like, you okay? I'm like, yeah, man, are you okay? And we went up, we pulled over, we put the spare tire on. wasn't sure what to do, and somebody drives by like, "Yeah, are you guys okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, somebody hit me and kept driving." They're like, "Maybe you should drive down the road because I think that guy hit somebody else and now is pulled over." And sure enough, I went down the road and the guy hit a BMW head on down the road. Everybody was okay, but he totaled both cars. He was just down the road, like guilty as hell.
Oh,
So,
wow.
Yeah. So, and unfortunately, neither John or I were hurt. We might have been if my truck wasn't so tanky, because he hit us pretty hard. And he, like I said, he totaled the BMW down there and totaled his truck. But yeah, so that's a crazy story. Me and John in a little car accident.
Was John holding down the coffee at that point?
It was end of day, so I don't think I don't think he had any coffee. You know what? You believe it though. If John had a cup of coffee in his hand, it would be all over the car.
Well, you guys
And
might,
I wouldn't have blamed them for that one.
what you guys might need to do for like Christmas this year is you might need to find a coffee cup with a lid that like latches in 5 different places.
We're gonna get Don a sippy cup for Christmas.
Oh man, John, if you're hearing this, I'm sorry, man, but the truth is going to come out sooner or later.
I hope I get a chance to actually get to have John on here as well, and then I might have to bring it up about his coffee spilling habits.
We have videos.
Just remind him he owes Kevin detail. That's all.
Yeah, I cleaned up. He didn't spill that much in my car.
No.
He spilled a lot in the studio, though.
Well, then he might owe the studio something for that.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah, a little
fee.
something. A little
We'll
something.
get the deposit back, kind of thing. Something like that, maybe.
Yeah, really a lot of fun times with John. A ton of fun times. A lot of fun making the record. They were long days, but they were some of the best days ever, man.
Yeah, some of them are great. We would go out and hang out later, drink some wine. We would hang out with some of his other buddies and jam out after the, he was, he knows a lot of people, so it was fun hanging out with him. We would just on a whim go hang out somewhere. And that was just a great time. And I don't know how long we were in that studio for, but it was a pretty good amount. So
Yeah, months.
we were gonna hang out.
4 months, kind of back to back, and then we had kind of a couple of sessions here and there when because John is from Texas, obviously we're from New Jersey. So when we were making that record, he came out. He was on a break from Disturbed, and he really came out, and we buckled down for a few months, and then he flew back. And anytime he was in the area or he could make some time for us, we'd get another weekend here or there. But
Yeah, we got studio stories, but we're working on getting the tour stories very soon, hopefully.
yeah.
Yeah, hopefully we can get you guys some of those tour stories because it would be absolutely insane. All of a sudden, had you guys come back on and, all of a sudden, all right, we got these 5 insane tour stories to tell on here.
Right.
Yeah. We'll look forward. Hopefully, we'll do a follow-up podcast with you, Kev, of some crazy tour stories.
I would absolutely love to have you guys on again because this has been nothing but fantastic and a lot of fun, especially that coffee story because all I can think about is honestly, my mom is the same way. Put a cup of coffee in her hands, I'm pretty sure, half it's going to end up somewhere around, either in her car all of a sudden on her desk, or just sitting somewhere, just completely forgotten about. So I don't know what coffee does to people. It's either people spill it or they just forget about it.
Yeah.
I don't think you can help these people too. I think it's just going to be the way it is with them, and they're going to need to spill half their coffee. I don't know. I think we just have to accept. It's all about acceptance.
Human nature. Coffee nature.
Total coffee nature. Alrighty, you guys got time for one more question?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hit it.
Perfect. So we see where you're at now. What are your what's your kind of plan, your aspirations where you're trying to get, let's say at this point, maybe a year down the line, 2 years down the line, because you got a new album, you got a couple of singles that you guys are coming out with, you're bouncing around a couple of places within New Jersey. What's the plan?
We love to be playing a show near you, I think is the ultimate goal. And I think that's something we dream of and we see as a reality for ourselves. And as far as future music goes, I touched on it earlier. We're definitely going to be following up this album with a few singles, which we want to create more for each song and really create a multimedia experience for each release and expand on that. And those all maybe will become some sort of collective album eventually. But I think that's where we're going with new music. And we kind of touched on some of our sound influences for that. And really at the end of the line, we do really hope to be playing shows near you and getting out there. And, the live stream is something we're going to continue doing and continue doubling down on. But I think where we shine the best is playing these songs that we create in live concert. And so we definitely want to be doing that more.
That is fantastic, and I think if there's anywhere that you could really expand to start off with, kind of outside of New Jersey, and you're trying to move, I'd say try to move more west, maybe towards even where I am, just because I see a lot of metal bands, a lot of hard rock bands kind of come out, and when they come out here, I rarely ever see a show that's not packed to the brim. Because I'm trying to think even this year, because you see some of the bands that are heavily influenced by us, or heavily influenced that we really take a hold of. Whenever they show up, I mean, people come out to see them in droves, like when Disturbed showed up, or I'm trying to think of some other bands that are from the area that I'm in, or like, because it's like the Milwaukee area, but it's like we're 90 miles away from Chicago, so I think Chevelle is also a part of that because they're a Chicago band.
Nice. Big
And of course, I can't forget my favorite band, Rise Against. They're Chicago band, and anytime they come around anywhere, or any like hard rock heavy metal band, my God, the people just here love it. You don't really see it that much at the beginning or at the offset, just because just the type of music. It's like the popular majority is gonna go more towards the pop music or hip hop and rap, just kind of whatever's popular today. But you get a rock and metal or a metal show to come to the area, come to Milwaukee, Chicago, anywhere in the Midwest. Oh man, you got fans like crazy.
Nice. Yeah, that's great. That's really we've heard that, and it's always great to keep hearing that because like you said, you sound like you already know this, but the scene is just not it's not like that here in New Jersey. There's definitely people are into different kinds of music here, and that's all well and good. But we want to find the areas where people are into our music, and that's where we want to be playing. So, I think I'm with you, man. We got to get out west. Definitely.
Yeah, I'd love to see you guys come out here and play. I mean, I'm just trying to think of a places, because whether it's places around me, because if you get a chance ever play at Summerfest in Milwaukee, it's like an 11-day music fest where they just have a bunch of different musical acts come all over the place. Trying to think of some other festivals that come around as well, because I know Rockfest and Rock USA are both in Wisconsin. But this year they're on the same weekend, so I kind of got to figure out which one I'm trying to go to.
Yeah, man, they sound like fun. We love to get out there. How many couches do you have, Kev?
Yeah, really. Are you on Airbnb by any chance?
We do. We really want to get out there, though. Seriously.
Unfortunately, I'm not an Airbnb. I live in a 2-bedroom apartment, and I'm actually I actually have to, because I don't have a studio or anything. I'm trying to do this basically by funding this whole entire project and all of it off of my full-time job. I'm literally shooting this in my bedroom.
Nice.
Respect. Hey, man, it starts there. I run a small studio in my apartment as well, and I'm grateful and lucky enough to have, a pretty solid side income on production and music recording too. And I totally get the hustle. It's in Kevin and I share an apartment with his wife, and they're kind enough to let me run my side business there. So I know the hustle, Kev. I'm all about it. And hey, if you were going to tour in Jersey, I'd let you sleep on my couch. So hopefully that should say something.
Kev's only one man, and there's 4 of us.
That's true. There's only one of you. Okay,
yeah,
so.
I'll say if there's a way we could try and find some room. I'll just need to get a bunch of air mattresses.
There you go.
Yeah, we'll talk details.
Yeah, we'll talk details.
We won't hold you to
We don't have
anything.
to get into deets now. Yeah. You're locked in, but we don't have to get into details now.
But
we'd love to come out to Wisconsin, and yeah, we're really looking forward to it. And again, it is a nice pick me up for us because it definitely is kind of a downer sometimes seeing I guess the way the rock scene has gone in Jersey, or lack of rather. And it's good to hear that it's still big in other parts of the U.S. and that's really what's going to be the driving force to getting us out there. So that will definitely occur in the near future for us.
I'll say it definitely is alive and well. One of the shows that I was recently at that showed it was I was in Madison, Wisconsin, which again, capital of Wisconsin, so woohoo. And I went to see Atreyu and Motionless in White when they were doing their spring tour. Cool. And just the amount of energy that everyone had, especially during Motionless in White's set. Holy crap. I would never be able to, if you were there, you wouldn't be able to fathom. It's like, wait, this isn't, the biggest kind of music in the area, or like it's shown. Like, you got to be kidding me. There's so many people coming around from all over the place. People like me coming from Milwaukee going there, or people even drove up from Chicago. I'm starting to ramble on a little bit. That's where I'm going. Like, driving from Chicago to show up there. I mean, all the time when I go to shows, you get people from Chicago even, come to Milwaukee, or if there's shows in Chicago, all of a sudden, boom, there's a whole bunch of Milwaukee people going there. So it's whoever goes where, it's like, okay, there's going to be a whole group that travels 90 miles north or 90 miles south.
It's just a strong community then. I mean, it's like people who are into it, willing to support it, and do it together.
Well, yeah, that's the key. That's the key to making sure that this genre and this kind of music, rock, metal, and all the subgenres behind it stay alive and really stay prominent when maybe the popular culture right now just really isn't latching onto it as we would have hoped it would be.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah.
But then, more music for us.
That's fine too. It's not deterring any of us, that's for sure.
I mean, clearly not. You guys are putting out great content, so definitely not deterring you guys.
Thanks, Kevin.
We appreciate that, Kevin. We hope we can bring that over to the Midwest where you're at, and that's definitely a top goal on our list of things to achieve these next couple of years. And of course, we'll still be streaming every Wednesday. Anyone who's listening, who's interested in checking it out, you can just YouTube Ascending from Ashes and subscribe to us, and you'll see whenever we're going live. And it's going to be every Wednesday at 8 p.m.
Eastern Standard Time. Which I'm really psyched to have to say because you guys are out of the time zone. So that's 7 p.m. for you guys, 8 p.m. for us.
That's right. So that would be 2 hours before your podcast, Kevin, right? Because you're at 9.
Yeah, it'd be 2 hours before my Instagram live stream. So
very cool. Good. So there you go. Right before you catch Kev's live stream, come check our stuff out at youtube.com/ascending from ashes. And we also have a website of our own too, where you can purchase merch, and that's at afamusic.com. And we're really excited again to be on here, Kev. We appreciate it very much. And hopefully the next time we'll be talking will be us in Wisconsin on your couch or air mattress.
With the crazy tour stories.
Absolutely. I love the fact that you guys did the plugs, too, for your own stuff, because that is, of course, phenomenal. I will include all their stuff, all their social media stuff, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, if they're on Twitter. You guys on Twitter?
Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
I'll include that. I'll include your website as well in the podcast notes and description so that people can check that out and always just do a quick click there. And hopefully by the time when you guys come to Wisconsin, now this is hopefully on my part, not hopefully on your part, because you guys are going to end up coming here at one point for sure. Hopefully I've got a big enough place where I can easily, put 3 or 4 air mattresses and one you sleep on the couch and then just call it a day at that.
There you go.
We'll share air mattresses if we have to, man. Let's make this work.
And you'll drink for free that night. We promise.
Yes.
We'll take care of you.
Drinking for free in Wisconsin, that's a gold mine right there. I mean, your bill might be kind of high then.
Well, we're from New Jersey, New York area, so I think we're used to it. I don't know that for sure.
We're gonna find out.
We will find out for sure. All right, guys, this was an absolute blast having you on. Thank you very much, and you guys are the first band I've ever had on this podcast, so I was kind of nervous going into this, but my God, I think this was fantastic. I think it turned out great.
Yeah, it's kind of fun, Kev.
Yeah, you sound like a natural, Kev. Yeah, you got it. And we're glad to be the first band on your podcast. That's mad cool, dude. Thank you.
Sound like a natural. That's the best compliment I've gotten all week. Yeah.
There you go. You're welcome.
You're getting gassed now.
All right, thanks, guys. With you guys there, have a good one and keep making good music. I love what you guys are doing.
Yeah, thanks, Kev. We'll be in touch, man.
We appreciate it, Kev. We'll talk to you soon, man. Thanks again.
Talk to you soon. Take care, guys.
Later.
All right, you too.
Alrighty, everybody. That was Ascending from Ashes from New Jersey. And again, I'm not going to lie. I was really nervous kind of going into that because I wasn't sure what to expect, how I was going to do. I knew these guys were going to kill it. I just was more nervous on myself, but I think we did a great job on it. And these guys have an insane chance to be big. We just got to make sure that, their stuff gets out there. Which, are we going to do that? Hell yeah, we are. So, again, if you want to check out any of their stuff, I will have it in the description for the podcast. Their Facebook page, Twitter page, Instagram page, their YouTube channel, and their website to check out and get some merch. May have to get myself some merch as well from them because, mostly because that's awesome. Alrighty, that was basically the biggest part of the podcast I really wanted to go into, and that's pretty much all I had for you guys, honestly. And if you guys ever see John Moyer, make sure that he's got his coffee together and that he's not spilling it. Alrighty, well, this was a fantastic episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did because, well, let's be honest, I love doing this stuff. This has been some of my favorite stuff of all time. This might be my favorite podcast of all time up to this point. I hope I get a chance to have these guys over in Wisconsin while they're playing a show, have them crash on my couch or on air mattresses on the floor, because that would just be utterly fantastic. Alrighty, so that's going to be it for this week's show. Next week, I've got a special guest coming back. One of the most popular podcast we've had so far was when Cadence showed up to talk about Motionless in White, and with Motionless in White coming out with their new Disguise album on Friday. Yeah, next week, she's going to be on the podcast. She's a huge Motionless in White fan, and she's going to talk about it with us. Alrighty, guys, well, that's it for me. I'm so happy to have you guys on the podcast. I'm so happy to have you guys listening to it as well. Happy you guys are with me on this journey. Thank you. I love you guys. This is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast, brought to you by My Song of the Day, Rock 2000 to today. Now, you guys know I always end these the same way, whether it's my Instagram IGTV videos, my Instagram live videos, YouTube videos, and this. Well, first off, again, thank you. And see y'all!